And hello and happy Thursday. I forgot to put my Bob Cratchit glove on before I got started. Hi, my name is Jersey Drozd, and all the links that you need to know about me, to know more about me, are right below me, right there on the screen. My Patreon, my Instagram, my everything. All the things that I do. I actually just did a blog post, and you can find it at rss.jdrozd.com that collects everything that I did in the month of March. Now we're in April. It's April 1st, 2021. And what are we doing today? Monday, you probably remember that I inked this drawing of Baron von Bear reading bedtime stories to monsters in his very Victorian-looking home. Since then, I've scanned it, I have flatted it, and now I'm going to paint it. And I'm going to paint it the same way I did that barbarian horse recently, where I'm going to use my flats layer as a reference guide for grabbing selections. And get my selection tool set up incorrectly. It should be like grabbing the reference layer. And area scaling is off, and we're going to tell it to apply to connected pixels only. No, I want it to select all of the colors in that range. There we go. Then I make the selection. And then I turn off my flats layer, make sure I'm on my watercolors layer, and I'm going to go in there and I'm going to start painting it up. What am I using as a palette? I'm using this handmade watercolor palette that I put together from my little travel tin, my 12-pan palette. And now with Ray Frendon's watercolor brushes, I'm going to go in and start laying in some colors. See? By the way, I forgot to put this in the color. Would that lamp color be? That'd probably be like a yellowish color. Oops, don't go to that. Forgot to put this in the notes for the episode, but for the stream. But if you want to get Ray Frendon's brushes, I have an affiliate link. It won't cost you anything extra, but I get a piece of the action, and that's at brushes.jdrozd.com. Since I talk about his brushes all the time on this stream, Ray gave me an affiliate link. A little bit of purple in there. I am not hopeful that I am going to get this done in an hour. I'm going to try. I'm going to do my very best. The goal with these live streams is always for me to try to get a discrete amount of work done in under an hour. Really push myself. Let me get my more opaque watercolor brush. Big enough. There we go. Look at that. That looks like watercolor, doesn't it? Where did you go? Purple brown. This is one of the nice things about doing it digitally, is having that undo. Be able to test. I think I want to do this. But it's also a danger because it could mean that I go back and forth on things indefinitely, and eventually you just need to commit and move on. So let's grab his suit, turn off the flats layer, go back to my color palette. Let's find the base color of his suit in my palette, which would be someplace around here. Now look for the blue mixed with purple. Where'd you go, blue and purple? You're there. warm it up just a tiny bit more. Not digging this little business going on here on his knee. How can I fix that? I can go in with some transparent watercolor. Another advantage of this. Back in with the blue. Hello there, OM210. Happy April. No pranks today, please. I've got to get this painting done fast. There we go. Got ourselves a bear. Save. Always save your work. If any of my students or former students or current students are watching, you've heard me tell the story. Oh, I screwed up the flats there. What's going on there? I gotta fix the flats real quick. That should be the spider's leg. Okay. Grab that color. You've heard me tell the story of the one time I cried making comics. Oops. And what was it? Well, I was working on a very old computer, and I had a day job as a graphic designer at a real estate magazine, and then I had a night job of doing freelance illustration, and I was also making comics. And so there were many nights where I didn't get very much sleep. And one all-nighter that I was doing, I wasn't saving my work because every time I saved, it would take a long time to save the file because it was such an old and creaky computer. And I think it was I put 6 hours worth of work into it. It was 4 o'clock in the morning. I had to be at work in about 4 hours. I hadn't had any sleep, and the computer crashed. And so I lost 6 hours worth of work. There was no point. The deadline was the next day. And I just hung my head and I wept. So I always tell my students when we're working with digital tools, save often. You don't want to cry. That's a little too brown for my taste. I want something a little bit more purpley. I'm going to put in this dark red again, but then I'm going to add some purple paint to it. You use a lot of purple in your shadows. I do. There we go. Just a little bit of a more saturated red in there. I didn't put any right there. Need a bigger brush. There we go. First part of the chair is done. Well, I mean, thank you for that, OM210. But you know, that was literally 20 years ago. I'm well past it. And as a matter of fact, I mean, it reminds me of another thing. Is like I've learned to think of those experiences as, boy, this is going to be really funny later. This is going to be a great story to tell people later. I try to keep that mindset when I'm encountering challenging things. Not everything makes a funny story, but things that where nobody really gets hurt, and it's more of like a, you know, if nobody gets hurt and if like there's nothing, no lives are on the line, then odds are it's going to make a really funny story. Now, I know I've told the story on here about the time I was booed by 500 people, including the fire chief and the town's mayor. And that was another one that like felt really awful at the time. But man, I've got a whopper that I can share every once in a while. And it's like, oh yeah, you think you've been embarrassed? Where am I? I want my brown and purple. Where'd you go? You'd think I would know your coordinates by now. And save. So I've been running these experiments for the last like couple months now, where I'm really trying to determine whether I want to use Clip Studio Paint to color my next project, or do I want a watercolor on paper. And I can tell you right now, it's starting to look like Clip Studio Paint's going to be the winner, just for sheer versatility and speed. I think I'd rather work on paper. I have a better time. I enjoy it more working on paper. I enjoy this too, though. I just enjoy working on paper just a tiny bit more. What am I doing here? Come on, brush. Okay, yeah, you're doing stuff. But a deadline's a deadline, and I think that pressure is not a small one. So how about I find yellow and brown mixed? That'd be a good idea. There you go. So somebody asked in one of my other streams, like, why do I have a flats layer? As you can see, I can easily just go to that flats layer, make the selection, hide the flats layer, go back to my watercolor layer, and continue working. And if I decide later on in the painting that, you know what, this color combination's not working out here, I can go back and edit that just by simply selecting that shape, that selection in the flats layer. So it just gives me like a little extra bit of wiggle room. Whoops, wrong place. Gotta go here to make my goldish color. Cool. Actually, now that's odd. What's going on with my flats layer here? Oh, that little corner of the book should be this gold. See, I goofed up my flats. This is something I'm gonna have to pay very close attention to when I do my next project. Is in my rush to get some of these things done, I do a hasty and sloppy job sometimes. is he reading the Necronomicon? Well, what else would you read as a bedtime story to ghosts? And skeletons and monsters and things. To borrow language from The Muppets Take Manhattan. Your bears and chickens and things. What's going on here? Okay, and I goofed one more thing. Yep, I didn't connect this letter, and I gotta finish painting the Necronomicon. There we go. The bear and the book are painted. I missed a tiny spot. There we go. What next? Let's do that bookshelf because that's going to be tedious. Or maybe not. Maybe it'll go really fast because I'll get my big chunky brush out. And let's get our base brown. For those who haven't heard me talk about this, I find that I'm getting new people attending this stream every week. This particular character is from a mini comic I made a couple years ago that I'd like to do more with. And the premise is basically like John Constantine or Doctor Strange, but with Hello Kitty. Right? So like it's a cute, adorable bear, but he solves like spooky supernatural problems. Get some more color in there, shall we? And no, I do not have any copies of the mini comic available right now. Do I have one to show? I thought I did. I guess I don't. But I mean, if you follow my Instagram or my rss.jdros.com, you'll see lots and lots of drawings. Just do a search for hashtag Baron Von Bear. That's the name of the character. Let's see. I want that brown with yellow. Because this lamp is going to be a light source in the picture, right? So these objects should be reacting to the lamp. Brown and purple, brown and purple. There you are. Did you ever fall off the track of drawing? I mean art in general. If yes, how did you get back on? I don't know if I get that question a whole lot. I get asked a lot about like, what do you do about drawing when you don't feel like drawing? That one I get a lot. And I feel like that's something that a lot of artists struggle with. Otherwise, they wouldn't ask me that. But falling off track, there was, and I don't know how often I tell this story. There was one time where I was so overcome with what I would call aesthetic arrest by somebody else's art. What am I looking for here? I'm looking for brown and yellow. Brown and yellow. And as a matter of fact, I've talked with this artist since then. I've become friendly with this person. I told him when we were hanging out at a comics festival, I was like, when you did this, and his name, by the way, is Derek Kirk Kim. And I was like, when your book, Same Difference, came out, it was so good that I thought, what's the point? I actually considered giving up comics at that time because I was so taken with his approach to storytelling and his art style and his voice and just everything about his work was just so rock solid. And I was like, gosh, the best cartooning has been done. I'm out. I really had like a crisis. I was so upset. But then how did I get back on? Well, like I was one of those kids who drew even when I wasn't supposed to. Like I got in trouble for drawing, like a lot of us do when we're young. And I feel like I'm going to borrow some language from my friend Brandon Dayton. I think it was him. No, I'm not sure. Actually, I don't know who I'd attribute this to. This goes to an artist that I heard. They said, like there was a point when you first started doing this, when you first started drawing as a child, you did it because I know it was Cold Glass. It was on Brandon Dayton's podcast. When you were a kid, you started drawing because you loved doing it, right? That's why you did it. Like when you're a kid, you don't do stuff in your free time because it's good for you. You do it because it's fun to do. And I think sometimes when we get like really hung up on this idea of being a professional, being a true artist, being a proper artist, like we distract ourselves from this primary impulse to just do it because it's fun for us to do. And it's worth getting in touch with that again, I think. Oops, let's also get red and yellow, which makes orange. Put a little bit of... Because when you're doing it because you love doing it, you're not thinking about, is this good? Are my friends going to like it? Is it going to get a lot of likes on Instagram? Like, it's really hard to remember that sometimes, but like, this is a pleasure too. And don't get me wrong, I'm not advocating for being childish. Childlike, not childish. There's a difference. But yeah, it's something that I try to remember. And that's what got me back into doing it again after I had that crisis, was just remembering that, like, oh wait, am I doing this because I want to be the best cartoonist in the world? Because like that was the language I was using was like, oh, the best comic's been done. No point in me doing this anymore. Well, that's mistaking the motivation. The motivation is that I'm also doing this because it's just such a joy to like make stuff up. People say, oh, make the comic or make the art that you want to see in the world. Well, that can also be bewildering because you can mislead yourself into thinking that you're putting something in the world because it's for everybody else. It's how much of it's for you. It's a two-way street. Of course it is. I'm always thinking about my audience. Always. But I'm also, one of the concerns is like, am I having a good time? Whoop, I selected the wrong thing. Because that's not nothing. We all know it takes a long time to make art. And if you're going to spend that much time doing it, it's probably worth your while to think about, is it going to be fun for me to do too? Right. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of artists would agree with that, Reed Fisher, is this idea that, you didn't do it because you saw a hole in the marketplace that you could fill and like you're bringing like this unique idea that the world needed. You may find that out afterwards. But I think that's not where it usually starts. It usually starts with, I think it'd be neat. Like this started with me saying, boy, I do like spooky stories, but I don't like scary stories, right? I like spookiness, but I don't like to be frightened. So let me do a story where I get to have that. Do I think other people will like that too? I hope so. But when I think about the audience, what I'm thinking about there is what's appropriate for the audience I'm trying to serve. And I want to make stories for young people. And what's appropriate, by my reckoning, for young people is there's certain characteristics to it. So I think about that stuff. I'm always thinking about my audience that way. But I'm primarily drawing something that I think is valuable, that reflects my values and how I see the world. I think that's why a lot of artists do this. Okay, I'll see you in a bit. Oh, I'm 2, 1, and 0. I'll be here for another 40 minutes or so. Jiggly plastic spider stories versus real spider stories. Yeah. It's like I love Halloween with all my heart. And what I love about it is, well, one, the idea of fussing over young people who are like really proud of their costumes. Like that's like probably like 90% of the joy of it for me. Getting to like make a big deal out of a kid because like they're dressed as a Dracula. But also it's the pretend scariness of it that I think is really appealing. But like, do I want to watch Annabelle? No. You can have that. Missed the spot behind the ghost here, so let's get that real quick. That's going to bug me. It was the books. I didn't finish coloring in all the books. Oops. I keep going to the wrong palette. I want to get a nice pink. Do I have a pink in here? Does anybody have a pink? That looks like a decent pink. Come now. What? I'm using my watercolor brush. Okay. There we go. Get this fella's eyes down here. Interesting. Another bit of sloppiness in the flatting process. What the devil's going on here? Okay. Got some funny white spots in the inks. I'm going to fill those in real fast with this freehand brush. Oh, no. Black ink when you do that, Jers. There you go. Oh, hi there. Einanido? It's so cool to see what's in my studio. Yeah, there's a lot of Gitchy Goos behind me, isn't there? I can switch to that real quick so you get a better look. A bunch of Masters of the Universe figures there. There's a cell from the Masters of the Universe cartoon. There's an original piece of art by artist Chris Sprouse, one of my favorite artists. Behind my head is some early concept designs for Amethyst Princess of Gemworld by Ernie Colon. And then, yeah, a bunch of Transformers, G.I. Joe figures and things like that. I think there's the Tick right there. I think Scrooge McDuck is behind me someplace. Yeah, there he is. Down there. Right. Some knockoff Transformers toys. Robotech. Starriers are over there. Yeah, so very, very 80s studio. Can you tell when I was a child? Yep. Save once more. It's always a good idea to save. It's one of the, what I tell my students is one of the privileges of this job is that you don't really have to grow up. I mean, I would argue that nobody really has to grow up. Like, you get to love the things you love, but there's something that feels a little extra permissive about this line of work. My layer palette. Let me make sure I'm on the watercolor layer. I mean, you got to grow up in the sense that, like, I pay my taxes. I make sure that, my home is maintained. But it's like, I think about that Ray Bradbury quote. Like he and Harryhausen the great animator, they made a promise to each other to like when they were young men that they would never stop loving dinosaurs. And I love that idea. That's such a charming idea of two grown men making a pact to never stop loving dinosaurs. Who are the figures between the Tick and Robotech? Oh, yeah. So those were gifted to me. Let me see. They are some BotCon exclusives. There was an episode of in the third season of Transformers. Several Autobots get turned into humans for one episode, and that is Rodimus Prime and RC on the card there. So, and can you ask what Joe's are so special to me that they made it onto the wall? Well, I have several Cobra Commanders. I'm a big Cobra Commander fan. And especially, and this is going to be heresy to some people from the 80s, is the Battle Armor Cobra Commander is my very favorite. So I have the original on the card, the 25th anniversary edition on the card, then like even like the really silly Space Cobra Commander and the one with the red mask that came with like a kite, and then like Beachhead and Flint around there too, because I like them. But they're not the only one. I mean, there's like a whole bunch more on these other walls. Maybe sometime I'll do like a studio tour where I can like walk around. Because like another character that is very important to me in G.I. Joe is Sergeant Slaughter. I love Sergeant Slaughter. He is so profoundly silly. And he speaks to the sort of... I actually have a friend who is the same age as me who's just now like watching G.I. Joe for the first time. And he's like, oh, it's like a fantasy story. It's not just a military story. I always thought it was just army dudes. And I'm like, no. It has like this really ridiculous, over-the-top kind of imaginative fantasy aspect to it. And Sergeant Slaughter, I feel like, is the epitome of that. Where it's like so ridiculously macho, right? Absurdly macho. He could take on 100 Cobras and set them on the run. You know? He lives in a place called the Slaughterhouse where he trains people and they eat raw meat. You know, it's all that stuff. It's so absurd. I love it. So I have like an entire Sergeant Slaughter shelf in my studio with a whole bunch of different figures. Yeah, I know. I've been told many times, like, oh, Jersey, how does it feel to be wrong? So incredibly wrong about which is the best Cobra Commander. Look, I like what I like. I can't help that. I know there's some proponents of the Cobra Commander with the hood is the best. Some the chrome face is the best. Oh, well, so you were listening back in the Art and Story days. Did I say that? That sounds like something I would say. Oh, I want to make sure that we're being absolutely ethical here. That I'm not misrepresenting myself or G.I. Joe. How am I liking the digital process? Quite a bit. I really like the flexibility that it offers me. Like a lot. But there's stuff that I'm not as crazy. I mean, it's not as fun to draw digitally as it is on paper. I mean, I love the experience of holding the pen. I love the texture of the paper. I love how paper reminds me to let go and just keep moving. Whereas and I was talking about this earlier in the stream, like when you have like unlimited undos, you can easily be tempted into like a endless spiral of editing. But I feel like digital has really caught up, and like it's I mean, if you look at this, it looks pretty darn analog, those paints, right? Do I do the line work in CSP2 or just the coloring? No, so I penciled this in Clip Studio Paint, and then I printed it out onto watercolor paper, and then I inked it with brush pens, and then now I'm going back in and painting it in Clip Studio Paint. The reason I ink it on paper is because I can't be trusted when it comes to I can actually pull off this line with some Clip Studio Paint tools. Like here is an actual brush tool that looks pretty darn similar to those brush strokes. It has the same kind of texture to it, right? It's just that I can't be trusted with digital inking because I will noodle over it and I'll triple the time it takes to draw it. I've tried to not do that and be more mindful of how much time I'm spending on it, and I get so lost in it. So this idea of doing it on paper and then painting it digitally is a way to help me let go of the art and just keep moving. Getting a message. Oh, I'm getting comments from people who can't comment on YouTube. Which figure is my weirdest out of them all behind me? That is an excellent question. Let's see, which figure is my weirdest? I've got to have an unusual one here someplace. Weirdest figure. You know? Okay. I would have to say. Oh, I'm knocking everybody over. Modulok has to be probably my weirdest one, and I love this figure to death. As a matter of fact, when I used to work at an office as a day job, he always came with me to work. And he is a He-Man figure that you can pull apart and recombobulate in a lot of different ways. You can make like 100 different villains out of this two-headed villain, right? So that was his main playability feature, is that he's a shapeshifter that you can determine the shape. So he has like this sort of like Lego-y kind of aspect to him. And plus, he just looks so dark creepy. I mean, look at that face, right? That's something I love about He-Man too. I think this might be what part of the influence is behind this kind of project with Baron von Bear. Is He-Man is both exciting, amped up action adventure with barbarians, but then you have this kind of creepy nonsense with these kinds of creatures in it, right? So, yeah, Modulok is one of my favorite things. And which is my best figure? Huh. Let's see. I have some over on the other wall that I'm very, very proud of, that make me very happy to look at them. Proud of them? Why would I be proud of an action figure? Well, okay, yeah. No, that's an easy one to answer. And you're getting me to knock everybody over. I'm going to have to like reset up my studio. So, okay. A couple years ago, Super 7 released some He-Man figure re-releases, and they made a figure called Ultimate He-Man, who looks just like the Filmation cartoon, and they made a laughing face for him. So I can do the animation cycle where He-Man laughs over and over again, like on the show, and also He-Man is a character in the Filmation show who always smiles, and that's important to me. So the fact that they made a smiling He-Man just, it filled me with such joy. That is, like, I almost cried when I got that action figure. That would be my best figure, my favorite one. Let's see, let's get some more painting done. Yeah, Evelyn just fell down, and also, both my Evelyns fell down. My Filmation Evelyn and my original. I am not going to finish this painting in time. Because y'all got me talking about my action figures. That's okay, though. I enjoy talking about He-Man almost too much. And, I mean, I know some of my former students are watching, and they remember back when we used to do the He-Man redesign lesson, where we would watch we'd watch an episode of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, the Filmation show, and then the students have to redesign 3 of the characters. Good. Let's do more of the spider dude. Let me make sure I'm going to the right place. There we go. I'm getting people sending me art that they're working on. That's awesome. I'm looking at a very muscly wolf with like veins in his biceps. All right, what was I doing here? Let's do this. Turn that off. Oh, you wanted to collect the recent He-Man re-releases, but not sure if you'd love them. Do I have any of them? I actually did get the new Mattel He-Man figure, and I wasn't sold on that head. He came with this, kind of snarly head face, and I mean, I like my He-Man to smile. I know the original didn't smile, but I wasn't sure that I wanted him to like be baring his teeth. Like that was a real deal killer for me. But then somebody gifted me a custom made original figure head to go on the new body, and now I love that figure. I don't subscribe to the fact that it was a drawback that the figures didn't have a lot of articulation. I don't really feel like they need to have a ton of because they just look so great as they are. But it is kind of neat. And I do think the new colors that they're using, the brighter colors, feel a little more cartoony and toyetic. So I've got Battle Cat, I've got He-Man, I've got Man-at-Arms, and I'm going to get that Orko. I'm sorry, I got to. Do I stream to Twitch and YouTube? I'm currently streaming to Twitch, YouTube, the Lean Into Art Facebook page, and the Lean Into Art YouTube. I was streaming to Picardo, but for some reason that's not working anymore. So yeah, I simulcast to a bunch of different places. I want to make it easy to find me. Okay. Do the reds on this little demon spider. Oh, I keep going my color palette. Wrong place. Gotta go over here, bro. The knees look weird on the figures, but actually, once you get them and put them in a pose, it doesn't look that weird. Okay, so here I'm going to make it an admission to the room. So I go to He-Man conventions on purpose, and I was at PowerCon when they debuted and really like showed those figures off for the first time. And I remember that was like the big thing for me was I was looking, I'm like, those knees look super weird. But then I got him, and I put He-Man on the back of Battle Cat, and he looks pretty darn great. Yeah, I'm not sure how the kids get exposed to the new figures unless the parents, get them to watch the show. Yeah, but I mean, on the other hand, Netflix has that new show coming out that's like all ages, not the Kevin Smith one, but the other one. So they'll get exposed to that. Although, I mean, I'm just finding that young people are more savvy about media than we sometimes think. I mean, I find that so many young people are so aware of such a broad swath of pop culture in a way that we weren't able to because of the limitations of the technology, right? Yeah, there's a new two new Masters of the Universe shows on Netflix. One being produced by Kevin Smith, and the other one is I don't know who's producing it, but some figures have been shown on the He-Man websites, showing what the new He-Man looks like. I don't really have a strong opinion on it, to tell you the truth. Brown, and purple and brown. There we go. I mean, the thing for me is that like I've got the Filmation show, which I have a ton of affection for, and I feel very well served by it, and I don't feel like any sort of anxiety or energy around the idea that any new shows have to be made for me. It's like when Kevin Smith was announced, and again, I was at the PowerCon where he like came out and announced what he was doing with the show, and people were pretty excited, but I was just like, yeah, that's probably not going to be for me. And that's what he's describing. He kept using the term fighty fighty. I'm like, well, that's not what I come to it for. So that's okay. You can have it. I don't want to overwork this. Okay, let's do this lamp. How long have I been going? 49 minutes. I have 10 minutes to finish this painting. It's not going to happen. This is good data to collect. What kind of brownish orange do I want to do for the fringe on this? Yeah. Boom. Whoop. There we go. And this teacup. Oh, now that you derailed me enough, what's the comic I'm working on? This is more of this isn't an actual comic, but more of a series of experiments that I've been running, trying to get in gear for um, an upcoming project. And so I've just been like sort of meditating on, some characters that I like drawing while I'm training myself to do digital watercolor. And I've been experimenting with um, doing on paper watercolor and then doing it in Clip Studio Paint just to see what I can learn from doing it both ways for future projects. And like I said, I'm probably going to use Clip Studio Paint for this next one. Yeah, I've been on Twitch every Monday and Thursday at this time. I think starting at the beginning of the year, I started doing that. I made a commitment this year to try to have more of a presence, like at least like an hour or 2 hours a week, make my process available to the public. Both to have these conversations, but also to, like build some awareness about upcoming projects. So that's to say, if you're watching this on YouTube right now, and if you enjoy what you're seeing, if you had a good time, hitting the thumbs up button, hitting like on it would be super helpful to me. That would be a nice thing to have to, but it makes me happy if you do. And I know that Twitch doesn't really have that function as much as like you can just basically follow me. Really have that function as much as like you can just basically follow me. Share the video. That's a thing. Okay. Do the wall behind him. Keep going my digital color palette. Go over here, Jersey. Okay. Well, thank you. I don't know how to say your name. One-in-8-0? Is it One-in-8-0? Is that it? I-in-8-0? That's kind of you to say. I do try to bring a positive sense of belonging wherever I go, because I do think that comics is a wonderful medium that should be accessible to everybody. Everybody belongs in it. Because if you try to keep people out, then you don't love comics. That's my argument. I mean, if you love something, don't you want the whole world to know about it? I mean, that's a Carl Sagan quote, and I think that there's a real truth to that. Oh, it's Casey. Oh my gosh, good to see you again, man! It has been a long time. I remember now. I remember that GI Joe encounter. Gosh, that was it. I want to say it was at SPX or something. Oh my gosh, it's been forever. Yeah, holy cow, was it that long ago? My God, my goodness. Okay. My overtime. Nope, I got 5 more minutes. So I'm trying to be like really strict about this. because this next project I'm going to do has a tight deadline. And I have to be, I mean, this is literally me like just getting in shape for the deadline and getting really practiced in what did I say? I want to say being diligent, but that's not what I mean. Being disciplined. That's what I was trying to think. The word I was trying to think of. Just being disciplined about showing up at a specific time and putting in a specific amount of energy and rigor into the thing. Whoop, whoop, whoop. I guess we can just do that. Well, it's hard to forget you. You were a very enthusiastic member of the community when we had the art and storyers. You interacted with us a lot, and always with that like really positive spirit of like this stuff is awesome and everybody should enjoy it. That's like my favorite thing. I mean, not to sound like Buddy the Elf, but I mean, I feel like, especially right now, like what we've been through in this last decade, kind of more important than ever that we like really make sure everybody feels like they've got a voice and that everybody's included, everybody has a seat at the table. Because we need each other, and I don't want to get on a high horse. I don't want to turn this into a He-Man moral at the end of the episode, but it's something I feel pretty strong about. Over here, Jersey. No. Where is my blue meets yellow in my palette here? Or my indigo meets yellow. Is that it? Really? Oh, okay. No, it's not. It's there. Oh, thanks, Casey. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, this is where I'm gonna like out myself a little bit. I don't know how you become an affiliate. I've just been streaming, just like hoping that people show up. And this actually happened in an early stream as I got raided, and I didn't know what a raid was, so I like blocked them all. I was like, there's a bunch of people in here talking. That like it said it's a raid, and then some of the other people who were watching were like, no, that's a good thing. I was like, oh. It was me being frightened old man for a moment there. But if I do become an affiliate and actually like, get some like whatever little amount of income you get from that, that would be cool. I would love to actually, secure more funding for my comics work. Always a good thing. Surprise party. That is much more my speed, right? Like, hey, it's a surprise party. For me, I would be all into that. But yeah, when you call it a raid, there's just something that just feels so aggro about it. I'm like, yikes. Not in my house, you don't. Oh my gosh. I'm going to petition Twitch to change it to that. Could you call it birthday party, please? I would really appreciate that. Okay, I am going to do this. I'm going to probably be a few minutes over. Yeah, I'm already over, but a surprise party, not birthday party. I'm going to do this bird's eyes real fast. No, I'm going to click on its eye. Its eye. Did I not fill in the eyes? Okay, eye. I got that eye. Because these guys are supposed to have reddish eyes. Let me get my red palette. And I'm gonna do one more thing, and then I gotta call it quits. And I guess I'll finish this at a later date. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to my flats file. And I'm gonna select the lamp, bird, background. Let's do that. Let's just do this. And grab that, and that. And did I grab the books? I did. Did I grab the bookcase? I did not. And the statue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of a cheat. I think what I'm going to do is make another layer. I'm going to grab yellow. And take the simple watercolor brush. You know what else I'm going to do? I'm going to knock out that lamp. I don't want the lamp shade. I want just around the lamp. I'm going to put a little bit of a glow around everything. Yeah, let's get a bigger brush. Bigger brush yet. Just to give it a little bit more ambience. This is where digital is going to make me, or rather where I'm going to get sold on like doing digital watercolors as opposed to on paper watercolors. There we go. That warms it up a little bit, doesn't it? Maybe even add a little bit of orange. Don't go crazy. Don't go nuts here, Jersey. I know. I'm going to also grab that floor, even though I haven't painted it yet. Not go bananas, but let's also warm up the drawing just a little bit more. Look at that. That's looking pretty okay. I'm going to save my work. And thank you, everybody, for hanging out with me and chatting with me today. It was super fun. This was one of the more fun live streams. And I will be back Monday. What is Monday? This is where you can see me do this every week. I look in the calendar. What the heck day is Monday? Monday, April 5th. I'll be back at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Central Time, 7 a.m. Pacific Time to live stream while I do different drawing experiments. So if you haven't subscribed, please do. Like, share, all that stuff. And once again, all the links that you need to know about me are below me. Yeah, I'm not super into pranking on April Fool's Day. This is not a joke. You can go back and look in the feed. I've been doing this for a while now. But I understand your hesitance on that. Thanks everybody. I've been Jersey Drozd, jdrozd.com, and Jersey Drozd on Instagram. Okay, bye.